How are you, my friend? How's breakfast?
How you doing? Breakfast was good. Just a little oatmeal really quick with some blueberries and walnuts and good to go, man.
Okay. I will readily admit that I'm an oatmeal guy when I think about breakfast more than anything else. Uh, I'm one of those guys that literally now. Do you do the instant? And do you?
Yeah, I do the instant. When I'm traveling and I visit parents and I visit mom and dad, then my mom makes me oatmeal. There's very few oatmeal people out there, man.
Mm-hmm.
Even at Atlanta United, when I played at Atlanta United, Chef Steve, I think I was like the only oatmeal person. He literally made oatmeal, I think, for me.
Oh wow.
I don't think anybody else got oatmeal. Um, my kids look at it and are like, "No way in hell am I eating that." Excuse me, but yeah, I love it. It's good.
I mean, and usually for me, what I'll do is because the portions are so small when you get the packet, I'll end up taking like a double. I'll take two packets and make those because I mean, if you look at the one packet, it's only like about an inch thick in the bowl, and you're like, man, really not going to do anything for me. So I end up getting a double packet.
That's why I added the walnuts and blueberries to it.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Last week we got to talk a little bit about the four selves, and I enjoyed that conversation and how you get to branch out and look at different aspects of yourself. And with the season kicking off with Atlanta United, it's a new year, optimism's there for grown-ups. When it comes to your mentees, and it could be, it could be Garza family, it could be anybody that that plays a sport, not necessarily soccer, but a sport. Do you sense in the young people of today the same kind of optimism and joy when they're starting something new, when they're starting a new season, when they're jumping into something full bore, or do they sense it more as work and something that they're having to navigate through? And do you guys get to change those opinions if they feel it's kind of becoming drudgery?
That's that's a that's a good question. I think can have a lot of different broad answers to it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna try and facilitate that the best way possible and say that I always tell kids it's a balance, right? I think that self-regulation comes into play of what we talked about last week, right? Understanding the control of are you able to stay motivated, have the routines, the self-discipline, all these other things that go within good habits and Mike and I talk about it all the time, the expectation effect. And maybe that's something you can ask Michael about next time you guys speak. Great. It's a book that he highly recommends. But I think at the same time, it's got to be right. It's got to be a balance of those things, understanding of putting in the work, but also enjoying yourself. Right. And that's one of my coolest answers within kids who tell me the self-belief part, because it's not only the confidence piece, it's not only the the flow state, it's not only the willing to take over or take control. I very few kids actually tell me enjoying myself. I
Huh.
enjoy myself when I have self-belief. So it's interesting that you said that. I think it's got to be a balance of both going into something new, understanding all the hard work that's needed, but at the same time you have to enjoy yourself. And I think that changes over time as adults for kids.
Mm-hmm.
I use myself for example whenever I was doing the ICA training with the MLS. Excuse me, I got something stuck in my
Hey,
throat.
you got to hydrate, brother.
Oatmeal,
It's all
I got
right.
a piece of oatmeal there stuck in my throat. Um, when I was doing the intercultural awareness training with the MLS, it was I would look at the young kids and I would say, look, all you guys that are 18, 19, you're still playing for the passion, right? You're still playing because you love the game, because you enjoy it, because you're like your dream is up there and you're like, okay, I want to continue to build this dream. And then I just use the older guys as an example, and I use all the guys who have kids. Well, once you have kids, when you're in within your career, your your dream or your, selfishness of wanting to get to that next level completely changes.
Mm-hmm.
Then I think it really becomes what you said. It becomes a job.
Yeah.
It becomes a job because now I have to facilitate the lives of these kids that are, that are me. And I think that's where the mindset shifts are also valuable. For me, for sure. After I had kids, and my mindset completely shifted. It was no longer about me. It was, how far can I take this, and how much money can I earn to support my loved ones.
Eh,
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, because along those lines, I would think that you have younger athletes out there today who feel that same kind of responsibility because of the investment that was made by their parents up to that particular point of whatever age they are, 17, 18, 19. We've seen it in other sports where you have the high school senior and he's going to college and he's going to play, the other football. And when he has that chance to jump and go to the NFL, even though he may not necessarily be physically ready, mentally ready, what have you, if you have all those folks chirping in your ear, yeah, man, go to the NFL draft, get the money. It's that responsibility and that weight that's there, that's attached to it all because of everything that your parents have done to get you to that point. And I didn't know if it was the same, or if you're experiencing the same with younger folks today because of those pressures, either self-imposed or not, because of the investment that had happened up to that point.
Yeah, and there's different levels to it, right? There's different levels of where the kids are, and what age they're in.
Yeah.
Um, I see so many young kids that are already specialized and have the thoughts of that it is only pro, and I see parents that have the specialized thoughts that it is only pro, and my son or my daughter has to be a pro. Right there is, I mean, that's, to me, is just, that's the wrong answer from the get-go. Right. And I even tell my kids, who are great players and have a unique and special God-given talent, something in them, you can't teach that, right? It's totally up to them to how far they want to take it, right? But whatever they have, their special sauce, like, it's already been sprinkled on them when they were born. They have something in them. But me to them is, take this as far as it takes you, right? And that is what I think the messaging needs to be with every support, or even as a parent investing in your kid. That needs to be the message always. I think, you just use the word parent, right? The definition of parent is to, right, take care of your young, right? Take
Mm-hmm.
care of. And so those investments should not be investments to get something back for that kid to go pro. Those investments should be for that kid's growth, and however far it takes him or he or she in life. And so I look at it more that way. And I think there's a very high percentage that don't look at it that way. Because I mean, you and I, we've talked about it so many times, about just the percentages and just how extremely hard it is to get there. And so I think it's an easier message to just say, hey, use this as a platform to take you however far you can go.
Because being a professional athlete, even here in the United States, I'm going to put the parenting thing, that'll be my follow-up question. The idea of being a professional athlete in the sport of soccer here in the U.S., or even being based here in the U.S., because the game has expanded so much, can be so many different forms. It doesn't have to be, you're chasing after Champions League. I mean, yeah, if you could be an Aronson, or if you could be, one of those players for, the United States men's national team, that is chasing after dreams in the European theater and playing in Champions League, representing your country, that's only one aspect. And I think that sometimes folks might get wrapped up that that has to be the be-all, end-all for my athlete in my family. But professional athlete now can be Major League Soccer, where you can make a decent living, with a couple of years in. It can be in USL Championship, and you can be somewhere into your early to mid 30s. You can be in USL League One. You can be a Cameron Lancaster who played forever in Louisville and is now in Lexington, Kentucky, playing in the third division. It can be in Mexico, where you got a cup of coffee and you know what it means there. It's just that professional athlete, I think that sometimes folks get locked into this idea of the absolute top of the mountain being the answer, when it doesn't have to be the top of the mountain if you're still a good athlete, but you're not at the top of the mountain. It doesn't mean that you're not good at what you do.
Most definitely. And that comes from a lot of different factors, right? There's a lot of luck involved in that as well. There's a lot of relationships and connections and a lot of different things that I think people don't see from the outside, right? I had a young man's father speak to me last night about he's in this phase and he's in this stage. He's 16, 17, and he wants to do it all on his own. Wants to figure it out all on his own. He wants to talk to college coaches all on his own. He doesn't want anybody's help. He doesn't want anybody's this and that. And I just told him, well, then that's the wrong way to look at it, right? Because he needs people who have been there, done that, to guide him. And how important are relationships? If this kid is a great kid and he knows this person who knows this coach and says, hey man, this kid is an absolute fantastic kid, he'd be a great asset to your team. That does so much, right? And so I think, there are a lot of different factors that help you get to where you need to be. Mm-hmm. Do you need that internal drive and all the selves that we talk about? Most definitely you do. But there are a lot of external factors that I think people don't put into perspective sometimes, and it's tough.
Halftime with Greg Garza and our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring for the Friday Free Kick. Twitterless Greg Garza at BG Mentoring on the 280 character app. And relationships, I think there might be times, I think, where we take relationships for granted, or at the same time, we may not realize the value of a relationship. And what I mean by that is, it's like if you're in a circle, and just as an example, this morning, say, you and I, we've known each other bordering 10 years now. Yeah. And from all the interactions we've had, all the stuff that we've done, if there isn't an opportunity somewhere, it could be, something random. Hey, Greg, I need you to help me build a skyscraper. Or, Greg, I need your advice. Like, I win the Mega Millions and I'm going to invest in a soccer club. Hey, Greg, I might need your advice about how to build the thing and, want to have a style of play. And I might need you just to kind of give me some feedback. I might have you and Parky as a part. If I don't take advantage of those kinds of relationships, if the situation fits, then I'm not doing myself any good in the long run. And the value is that you may not realize at the time that a relationship can be of value, but I think you always have to keep yourself aware that no contact is ever a bad contact, especially when you're growing in your field.
No, most definitely. Yeah. Relationships are key. I think they're an important factor towards a lot of different things. And every player will always have their story and their tale to tell. And every story that every player has is going to have somebody that has been fundamental in getting them towards where they need to go and where they want to be. But that's like going back to just everything in the beginning is, man, there's a lot of families and a lot of kids out there that I think if they could just have that mindset shift towards using soccer as a platform to get them as far as they can in life. And that's what the value of we're being on a team, the value of using it to get a college education, the value of using, right? These are all great values. They are not failures, right? They are not failures to where if, okay, your first dibs and your first objective was to make it pro and that doesn't work, well then what else can I how far else can I take this? That should be always the go-to.
And it's, when you have these kinds of things and your mentees realize this, are you seeing, and I don't know if you have any kind of evidence one way that can give you this, but do you see your mentees passing on what they're learning from you and Parky? Are you seeing that chain continuing to grow in any ways? Are you saying, hey, I had a conversation with a buddy the other day, or I'm helping others? Are you seeing your chain grow when it comes to what you guys are doing?
Yeah, most definitely, because we're cultivating leaders,
Yeah.
right? Giving these kids different ways to think about things, how to really. That's really interesting that you asked that, because I had a girl last night ask me, why do we do this? Right? She's a great mentee, and that was a great question. I've only had two people ask me within a mentoring session, out of hundreds and hundreds of kids, why do you do what you do? She's the second person, and both of them have been girls, similar ages as well, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And I just gave her the background of everything of why we do what we do. It's to help, just literally told her to help you understand sometimes that life is not going to be fair, right? The easy answer that I can give you is to help you understand that life is most likely not going to be fair. But the game that you and I both love teaches us so many different values on how to overcome certain challenges, on how to learn to be a great teammate, on how to build self belief and have confidence and trust in yourself, on how to push yourself a little bit further than everybody else, right? All of these things, guess what, right? To what her name was, right? They're going to help you in anything and everything in life. It's not just going to help you on the field. All the things I just told her, think about all the sessions that we've had that we focus with things on the field. And then I said, just translate that to something, I said, what do you want to do? I want to be a biologist. Okay, well, you want to be a biologist. How are you going to be the best biologist that you can be with everything that we've talked about? And, I think that's where it starts to click for them, to where which is great. I think they compartmentalize a lot of their focus into what they are currently doing, but they don't understand sometimes the bigger picture of it, right? And I think that's the beauty. That's the beauty of what we do, because I think a lot of the times they start hearing these personal stories or experiences or mini exercises or things that will cultivate them into being better prepared individuals for whatever their journey brings in the future.
So when you gave that mentee that response to her question, what was her reaction to your response?
Yeah, a lot of smiles, a lot of I think it's more realizations, right, than anything, because and she's an older girl, so I think it's a moment of realization for them, because I think they start to put the pieces together, and they start to realize, they're like, okay, wow, he's right. I every time I speak to him, I'm always using soccer as the main point of point of interest and point of focus, right? But it's much more than that. And that's why I think Mike and I love what we do, because we gain those experiences within soccer. And I think kids don't realize that while they are doing it. They would only realize that maybe when they get in their 30s or their 40s, after they've done it for in the past. They only realize how beneficial it was to them in those moments. So that's our main message. That's our main message, right? To cultivate confidence, leadership, resilience, build character is by far more important than anything that these kids need.
In your interactions, Who is the most confident person that you ever came across that has helped you with your approach to mentoring? And it doesn't have to be a soccer player. It can be a coach, could be a person that has nothing to do with athletics. Who is the most confident person you ever came across in their field who, with their connection to you, helped you the most?
That's a really difficult question.
You can give me a Mount Rushmore if you need to. You can give me a top 5.
I don't even know if I have a top 5. I would say my parents are huge advocates of. I mean, I think once again, I think they've shaped me, and it hasn't always been, and even our relationship hasn't always been rainbows and butterflies, and you've gone through our sparks and our headbutting and even that growing up as a kid and different decision making situations. But I think they're very problem solve people, right? When things happen, they try and problem solve, and they don't dwell on things. And I think that's I wouldn't say that they're always confident. I wouldn't say confident because I don't think anybody is always confident. Um, I think we go through our slumps and we go through our right. And Parky and I always tell kids confidence is a trained skill. Just like you go outside and you train to be technically better, you have to find a way to train your confidence as well. Each and every day, and your positive affirmations and creating some form of self reassurance. But I think probably my parents, and just in order to get through things and problem solve and understand that if crap hits the fan, right, which it's going to always.
Yeah.
Every week is a different story. It's totally up to you on how you want to kind of take it, right? Do you use it to be the end of the world, like as an end all be all, or do you use it, in those moments where I'm just using and referencing parents and telling their kids that it is an end all be all. But I think in those moments, in those challenging moments, can you use them to just as quickly as possible problem solve and move on to the next thing?
So then who were some of the most resilient people that you've come across that have helped you shape you? And the person in the mirror, I think, counts because of everything that you've gone through.
Yeah, I think I enjoy giving my personal story. And I mentor a kid at right after this who was going through an injury, didn't make a team, and just all these different things. Just, I think once kids start to see things trickling and start to see things folding, it puts them in a really tough situation. And kids are not going to listen to mom and dad. That's just a very true statement because my kids don't even listen to me about my stories. But I think when they hear my stories of injuries or failed trial attempts, or just, Parky always says the pathway to success, right? It's never linear. It's you have all these leaps and valleys and dips and peaks and all plateaus, all these different things. And I think once kids listen to that and hear our personal resilience stories, and Parky has many as well, that creates that bond. It creates that trust, because I think they say, okay, I get it. I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
This guy's story really sucks. And he did okay, and he turned out okay. And I think that's a huge plus. And sharing stories. I love storytelling, right? I think that's what life is. Life is a bunch of us who we look into the ICA training for MLS. We all have different story, and we all have a tale to tell. And the only way that we are able to, create those deep relationships and those deep connections is by sharing those stories. I fear for the youth generation, because their storytelling is all through a device.
True.
right?
Yeah.
And it's, you take away from those long conversations or those letters or those notes. And I mean, I guess we'll see. That's another generation. The next John Nelson and Greg Garza that'll be here in 100 years, man. But yeah, man, it's storytelling is everything, I think, in everything that we do,
No
and
doubt about it.
creating that resilience.
Absolutely. We'll put a bookmark in that, because next time I want to talk about ICA. I want to get into that and how aware we are of everybody else's cultures and how that affects
Yeah.
mentoring and your prism and how you look at things. What's going on with Beyond Goals? Because high school season is off and running. They're getting into region play. We got games tonight on SDH. What's going on with you guys?
It is. We spoke to a high school yesterday. Still speaking to a lot of high schools, trying to create some new opportunities. We actually have some pretty cool partnerships and other sponsored opportunities, hopefully coming into play pretty soon. So continue to put a dent in the community in the best way possible, and continue to grow what we love.
Absolutely. And we'll catch up with you soon, my friend. Go enjoy the rest of your oatmeal and your water, and be safe. And I will catch up with you soon.
Sounds good. Have a good day, John. See you later.
And that's Greg Garza and our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring.